We're not much, so I'm thinking if we could waiting for 10 minutes, I guess it's too much. Well, let's give them just 1 minute by okay, say 2 minutes. 8:06 will start up. I think that should be enough. 2 minutes and by 6:06, sorry. 6 minutes, 6 minutes past 6 o'clock will start. While we're waiting for others to join, so we have 1 more minute. Could anyone please working with your PC or your laptop, could you help us projecting, sharing your screen? I dropped the slides we use in today's class. I just dropped that in the group. So anyone who is working with his or her PC or who is joining this call with your PC or your laptop, please just help us project it while we wait for others to join in. I have like 1 more minute. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Abdul. Okay, so we're starting off right now. It's 6:07 already. So we could just begin immediately. So first of all, welcome to today's session. Welcome to today's session, and I hope our Saturday went very well. So in our last session, we talked about how to move information from one table, moving of records from one table to the other. That's what we talked about last session, and we briefly mentioned Python as the next stage in our learning. And also, we talked about the capstone, which I have sent on our channel. So I believe everyone has seen that. I believe everyone has seen that. So for the capstone, you have 1 month, sorry, to work on it. So as not to put much pressure because we understand that we have other activities. So the capstone is not much, but it was just left for 1 month. So you could take your time and work on it. Now, surprisingly, someone has actually finished it and he has sent me a message. So it's not something bulky, it's something you could do at your free time. But now, notwithstanding, you have 1 month to complete it. And later on, I'll send in the link where you used to submit the capstone when you're done with yours. So today we'll be having a basic introduction to Python. We are going to look at, sorry, please hold on. Okay, now before we begin today's class, Abdul, I sent you a message on Discord and you didn't respond. Are you ready? Can you do that for us now?
You sent me a message.
Yes. Okay, no, I just wanted you to talk about the certification.
Oh, okay.
Can you? Or do we go ahead?
What
Or
exactly should I
after the
sign up
class?
for?
After would you do it after the class? Okay, let's move ahead. I think after the class we'll just touch on it a bit.
Okay.
All right. So today we'll be looking at introduction to Python. We'll look at the basics of Python, control flow in Python. That has to do with how to control your order of execution, the order of execution in your code. Then we'll look at functions. We'll have our question and answer. We'll talk about assignments for next week, and that will be it for today. So next please. So from last week, like I mentioned, we looked at how to move data between tables in SQL, how to work with tables, because in this field you work mainly between tables, with tables, and not with and not by imputing raw data. You work by moving data from one table to the other, and that's why it's important to understand how to move how to move records or data from one table to the other. And we also had the wrap up, and we also concluded everything concerning SQL in our last session. So today we'll be talking Python. Unless any other person, unless anyone has a question concerning what we did concerning the SQL track, then you can ask after our discussion on Python today. So today we're going to talk Python. Basically, we're going to look at the basics of Python. We'll look at the Python variables, data types, functions, order flow, and and looping. Yeah, that's basically what today's class will cover. Then after that, you'll have to enroll in the data engineer with Python track. Now that track is going to cover Python basics, which we'll look at today. It will also cover how to work with files, flat files, JSON files especially, because when working with information coming from websites, they are mostly in JSON formats. So it's very important that you understand how to work with JSON files. We're also going to look at data cleaning and transformation using Pandas library, then task automation using Apache Airflow, and also how to connect database. So after extracting the data you want to work with, after extracting it from the source, either a CSV file, a JSON file, or from an API, you do the transformations, then you send it to a database. So we're going to also, the track will also cover how to connect from Python to a database and send information into that database. Then it will also look at how to use Python to build ETLs, how to test your pipelines to ensure that at every stage you know what is happening. Then also how to log error messages, so that whenever a pipeline breaks, you do not have to start reading the code from line 1 down to the end. Using libraries like PyTest, you'll be able to know that this pipeline that I wrote, it broke either in the first stage, which could be the extraction stage, or during the transformation something went wrong, or maybe when you were loading it from Python to a database. So this track, the data engineer with Python track, is going to cover all of this and more. So now we're asking ourselves, what is Python? Python is, simply put, it's a high level programming language. Next, please. Thank you. High level programming language, with simple readable syntax. Now, Python is designed in such a way that the syntax is simple, easy to read, to understand, and also to write. One beautiful thing about Python is its versatility. Now, if you're talking about in all the fields in the data ecosystem, no matter the career track you are on, as long as it has to do with data, no matter your job description, no matter your job title, as long as it has to do with data, then Python is a must. Now, Python isn't only for those in data. Web developers also use Python. AI, ML engineers, they use Python, and so many other fields. So the basic difference is just that the use case or the libraries used by those in data is actually different from the ones used by those into web development or AI. Now, in web development, you could talk of libraries like Django, Flask. That is really not what data engineers or those in the data field use Python for. When you come to the data field, we have our own libraries, and there are things like pandas, NumPy, matplotlib for visualization, seaborn for visualization, also login to keep track of your pipeline, to log error messages, sorry. Then we talk of PyTest, we talk of Airflow, and also GCP to connect to cloud services, and so many other libraries. So basically, the difference is just in the libraries that we use. So across board, the basics is the same thing, and that's why Python is a must. So even if you decide that you no longer want to work as a data engineer, you want to go into web development, you do not really need to start relearning the basics, which is the flow of codes in Python, or how to write define functions, how to use the syntax for either a if or for loop, and the rest of them. You just need to go and understand the library which you want to focus on, understand how it's used, and understand the methods and objects that you can call on in that library to help you achieve what you want to achieve. So Python is very versatile. It's used across board in so many fields, and that's why it's very important that everyone knows and understands Python. Then when we come to data engineering, what do we use Python for? Python can be used for data ingestion. By data ingestion, we mean to read to read files, and yeah, flat files and the rest of them. That's to read files into your system. That's data ingestion. Then we talk of data transformation. Data transformation is to clean and to transform data sets. Probably you look at deduplication, that's removing of duplicate values, handling of null values, how to changing from one data type to the other, and a whole lot of transformations that can actually be done using Python. Then we'll talk of data storage. Storage is simply moving from Python to a storage system. Now you could store your system. Now, after transforming your data, cleaning it, you can store it either as a CSV file, you can store it as an Excel file. You can store it in JSON format. You can also store it in a database. So these are some of the capabilities of Python for data engineering. Then we also talk about data extraction. Data extraction is getting data from one source before ingesting. Getting data, the source could be from an API. API is application programs interface. Yeah, that's the meaning. So it's basically getting data from the web. It's used mainly on websites. So connecting to the API, you will need some form of credentials to give you access to an API, and using that credentials, you can extract any data that you want from the website. Then we also talk of extraction from databases, that is getting data directly now, not just loading it or ingesting it as a CSV file. But this time around, we're talking getting it directly from where it is stored in a database. Also, you can also extract data from cloud storage. You can store your data in AWS system and Amazon system. You could use S3 to store your data, and you can easily extract it from the cloud using Python. Then we also talk of process automation. This is simply automating tasks, making tasks to run automatically without you coming there to click on run, or without you doing anything. Just run it the first time, and after that the process is automated. So these are the things that Python helps us do. And when you talk of process automation, where it is really important is actually in automating the process of automating our ETL process. Now, you look at a system whereby after getting of course, after building your ETL pipeline, you get data from a source. For example, let's say like a job website. Now, a job website is a website that is constantly being updated. The website is constantly being updated either on a daily basis. At least we are certain that a role will most likely be posted on a job website on a daily basis. So after writing an ETL to extract data from the website, to automate the process, you now write additional scripts that would not that would make you wouldn't have to start extracting the data manually all over again. Rather, the automation script would be written in such a way that after the first extraction, subsequent updates, it could be hourly, it could be daily, depending on your choice. Actually, you could write a script that after getting the jobs you want for the first time, in subsequent ones they will be automatically retrieved or extracted from the jobs website as they are being uploaded in the website. So these are some of the things that we use Python to do as a data engineer. Then we look at Python syntax and structure. Now, one key thing, and that's why Python is really easy, is that you do not need a semicolon. Unlike programming languages like Java, at the end of every line you need a semicolon. So with Python, just writing your first line of code, put with the enter the next line, and you write your next line of code. That is simply how Python works. You do not need to write a semicolon at the end of every sentence. So with just a new line character, your codes can run easily. So there is not not too much things needed to really write a good or Python script. Then indentation defines block of code. Now in I think in Java, for example, you need, if you want to write like a block of code that will be executed separately from the main code itself, you need curly braces. But in Python, it isn't the same thing. Now, what you only need is to indent. And what that means is, at the end of if you want to execute a block, just a tab key. Writing the codes line by line, you use tab to show that this line is different from the ones following it. So looking at our example here now, we just wrote a simple if statement. Now, in the example, it says if x is greater than 5, then a colon. A colon also is needed when you want to indent. So at the end of that if statement, you write a colon, put the enter the next line, and then a tab key, and then you press the tab button on your laptop. Now, some systems actually automatically indent when you put the semicolon, the colon character. Some systems automatically do the indentation for you, so you do not need to put the press the tab on your system. But however, for definition of blocks of code, indentation is what is used. So in the example we wrote, we actually have two different two sorry. In the example we wrote, we actually have two different codes there. The first is the if statement. The print following the if statement is part of the if statement, while the print statement, the second print statement, is a line of code on its own. That is a standalone line of code, whereas the print statement up depends on the if statement above. So looking at the example, we can see that we have just I'll say two blocks of code right here. One has to do with the if statement, and the print following the if statement, they are together, while the second print statement is a line of code that can execute on its own. So indentation is what we use to define code blocks in Python. Then also, Python is case sensitive. Unlike SQL, which is not case sensitive, but we use capital letters to differentiate keywords from variables and the rest of them in SQL. But Python is very, very case sensitive. All keywords are written in lowercase characters. So from the example, we can see that print written in all lowercase is not the same thing as print that is written with the first letter in uppercase. When you run these two print statements, the second one, which is written with the first letter in uppercase, would give you an error, because that is not a recognized keyword in Python. However, the one written solely in lowercase is what will run, because that is the recognized keyword. That is a recognized keyword in Python. Then we're looking at Python data types. Okay, so for the data types, we have the int, which is integer, and the float, which is for numbers with decimal. So these two data types are basically what we use for numbers. For example, age can be declared as an int because someone cannot be 5.6 years old. So age is declared as can be declared as an int, an integer, while currency, we use float for currency because it has a decimal part. Then we also have string, which is used for text. And like the example written, I am learning Python. Now, string characters, string is always written in either single quotes or double quotation. Any of that can go for Python. You can write the string of text either in single quotes or in double quotes. Any method is acceptable in Python. Then we also have boolean, which is either true or false. Then we have a special type of data types, a special data type called collections. Now these are actually collections of different, more than one these are it's a combination of more than one item. Now we have the list. A list can be written, a list is written in square brackets. Then we have the tuple, which is written in regular brackets. Then we have the set, which is written within using curly braces. Then we also have the dictionary. The dictionary is also written using curly braces. However, the difference between a set and a dictionary is that a dictionary uses a special form of key value pairs to it uses a special key value pairs when you talk of the items contained in a dictionary. It's always together, and both of them are divided. The key value pair is divided using a colon, whereas when you talk of a set doesn't have anything a set doesn't have a key value pair. It's just the items itself, the items that are members of that set. So you can call on a set using their index location. Whereas for a dictionary, it always comes in pairs. A key, and the second part is the value. Now, in the example of the dictionary we have there, we have name and joy as one pair. Each pair is separated by a comma. So in the first part, we have name and joy as a pair. Name here is the key, while joy is the value. Then you go to the next content of the dictionary. We have place and Kenya as another pair. Now, in this example, place is the key, while Kenya is the value. Then thirdly, we have object and tree as a third pair. Object here is the key, while the value there is tree. So these are the various data types available in Python, though this isn't an exhaustive list. So as we continue in our learning, we'll be introduced to other types in Python. Then we're looking at Python variables. So for a variable, what does it look like? How do you declare a variable in Python? First of all, what is a variable? Is how do I okay, a variable now is for example, you want to assign something to something else. You want something to hold a certain value. The value it is holding is the variable, while what is holding the variable is the variable name. Now, if you talk of Python and declaring of variables, Python does not need any keyword to declare a variable. Like some programming languages, you could use the var keyword, and var shows that you want to declare a variable, whereas in Python your variable declaration is simply get your variable name, use the assignment operator, which is equal to, then you put in the value which you want that variable name to hold for you, and that's just it. Also in Python, you really do not need to explicitly state the data type. You don't need to state the data type. Now, looking at the examples we have, the first one is name equals joy in quotes. Now, when you put that, you do not need to add that joy is a string. As it is like this, your compiler already knows that joy is a string because it is written in quotes. So the name variable will be treated as other variables holding a string value. Then we also look at the second example, which is age. Age equals 21. That one is clear that age is a number. So that is an integer value. Here you do not need to add int, just like you wrote in the first example, which is name. Declaring it like that simply tells the compiler that age holds an integer value, which is 21. So if we come and put age equals to 21.7, then the compiler treats age as a float variable name. So any operation that can be had on float data types, that is the kind of operation that would also be performed on the age variable, assuming we wrote that age is equal to 21.7 or any other number. Then for the third example, that's just to show you how to declare multiple variables at the same time. Now, here we declared two variables actually using just one sentence. So when it runs, the name variable is given to joy, while age will contain 21. So using this method, you can declare as many variables as you like using just a comma to separate them. You use a comma to separate the variable names, then use the assignment operator, which is the equal to sign, and then finally the values of those variable names, also use a comma to separate them. So with this method, rather than listing everything one after the other, you can simply use one line to declare multiple variables. Then next we have locations. To declare a variable as a list, of course we'll use the list constructor. The list constructor, which is simply putting list and then brackets after that. Then same with how to declare a set, and same with the way a tuple is declared, and also the same way a dictionary is declared. So these are the different methods or ways of declaring variables in Python. Also, one thing we should also note that as we said earlier that Python is case sensitive, also in the declaration of variable names, it is equally case sensitive. Now, what this means that, using the example that we have there, capital letter A is different from small letter a. So if we say small letter a is equal to 4 as an integer, and we also have another variable saying capital letter A is equal to 4, they are both different different, they are seen as different variables, and they are treated differently in Python. So if, for example, you write a Python script to using small letter a and capital letter A, and you assign at the beginning of the script, you assign the same number, let's say number 4 now as an integer, you assign the same integer to both of them. In the course of running your script, if by chance you change the value of small letter a, the value of capital letter A will not be affected. The value of capital letter A continues to be 4 as an integer, whereas the change will only be affected in small letter a if that is what is used in your script. So let's also note that everything concerning Python is case sensitive, including the variable names. Then we'll talk about Python operators. Then we're looking at Python operators. Python operators, first, we have the assignment operator. The assignment operator is used to assign a value to a variable. So we could use the assignment operator is used to assign a value to a variable. So we could talk about variable name using equal to. That is the use of a assignment operator. That's a single equal to is used mainly as an assignment operator. Then we talk of arithmetic operators. We have the plus sign, which is regular addition. We have the subtraction sign there, which is the normal subtraction we all know. Then we talk about multiplication, which is an asterisk character to multiply 2 or more variables. Then we talk of division, which is a backward slant. Then we talk of double multiplication, which is raising to the power of something. Then we talk of modulus division, which percentage sign is used to represent that in Python. So the modulus division is also the same as a remainder division. In this case, if you say 5 modulus 2, it's the remainder part of that division that you are going to get. So if you say 5 modulus 2, the result would actually be 1 and not any other figure. So that is modulus division. Then we also talk about comparison operators. Comparison operators is to compare two values. Is used to compare two values. So first of all, we have the double equal to sign, which is to compare if two values are the same thing. Then we have the not equal to sign, which is an exclamation mark and an equal to. Now that is used to compare if the two values are not the same. Then we have the greater than sign. We have the less than. We have less than and equal to. That is to compare two things. First of all, is the part A greater than or equal to the other parts. Then we also have the less than and equal to sign. So these are different comparison operators that we have in Python. Then we also talk about the logical operators. They are basically and, or, and not. Of course, not is negation. Not equal to, which is the same thing. Not is negation. Or is either of the two has to be true. Then we talk about and. And means strictly both of them must, both conditions must be true. So these are some of the operators that we have in Python. Then we look at Python inputs and outputs. We look at Python inputs and outputs. How do you accept user inputs in Python, and how do you send a message on your screen using Python? So to accept user inputs, the inputs keyword is used, inputs with brackets, open and close brackets. Note that these keywords, again, they're all in lowercase because of case sensitivity that Python has. So to accept user input, we use the input keyword with open and close brackets. So for an example, we want to get a username. We want to get a user's name. You could simply put the first name is just to assign the value of the input to the variable called first name. So in the example there, when you run it, what you see first is what is your name, and the input you put in is what will be the value of first name. So first name there is the assignment operator for that input, for the input in the first example. Then we look at the print statement. The print statement is to show or to display an output to a user, or while running your codes to display a certain output, we use the print statement. Now, for example, we have print welcome first name. Now, using first name as that was used in our first input example. So if, for example, the user says, my name is, or what is your name, and the user inputs say Tolu. So if you execute the print statement, what you get is welcome Tolu. That's how to display outputs in using Python. Then we talk about F strings. F string is just a method of formatting your output. Now, in the example we gave, rather than using a comma to separate the string we want to write and the variable name, when you use F string, you really do not need to use commas to separate string variable names with string characters if you want to display any output. So you simply write the letter F before using the quotation mark that says we're using a string. So you write the letter F first of all. Then the welcome is, of course, the string we want to write out. Then first name, being that first name is a variable that was declared in the example using our input statement. So being that first name is a variable, you now have to write it inside curly braces. So when you run this, the output is the same as what the second print statement, which is welcome Tolu. So this one using F string just makes outputting and formatting strings easier. Then you do not start thinking of did I put this comma, did I put this how many commas did I put to separate this number of variables from the characters that I want to write. So with just an F string, using an F string, you put all variable names in curly braces, write any output statement you want to write, and then simply print. So this makes printing easier and more readable. Then we'll look at conditional statements. Now, what is a conditional statement? A conditional statement is simply a statement that runs when a condition is either true or false. It runs based on a condition. So that means that if a condition is true, this should run. If it isn't true, something else should run. And to run statements like this, we use the if statement in Python. This is similar to the case statement in SQL, where you have case when this is true, then you do that. In Python, it's the if statement is what is being used. So in the example that we have, so in our example, we're saying to write a script to check the value of a number. Now, first of all, the num variable, we assigned it holds the number 14. Num holds the number 14. So now, in our if statement, we are saying if num is less than 5, then that print statement, number is less than 5, is what will run. The next condition is else if. The short form of an else if is elif, which is el, the first two letters of else, and then if. So elif, if num now is equal to 5. Also take note of the equality sign that was used here, because we are comparing two numbers. We use the double equal to sign as against the single equal to sign that was used to assign the number 14 to the variable num. So in the elif statement, we're saying if num is equal to 5, then you're going to print what? Number is equal to 5. Else, you print number is greater than 5. So when this runs, it is only the condition that is true of num that is going to be that will print. So in this case now, we have declared that num is equal to 14. So when we run this block of code like this, it is the else part of it that will run, because num is greater than 5. It is equal to 14, which is greater than 5. Now, if we change the value of num to 3, then the first part of the if statement, which says num less than 5, that is the output we are going to get. So our output in that case, if num is equal to 3, will be the first print statement, which says num is less than 5. Whereas the elif statement will only run if num is equal to 5. So if we also change the value for num from 14 to 5, the middle if statement, which is the elif, is what will run, and what we'll get in our output is number is equal to 5. So that's basically how the if statement works in Python. Then we're looking at loops. So looking at loops, we're looking at, first of all, what is loop? Loop means something secular, iterating, something that moves continuously. That is a loop. Now we have in Python, we have a for loop and we have the while loop. Now the function of the for loop is to repeat a code block a given number of times. So if, for example, in the example given, we said we want to print joy is coming 5 times. You simply put it in a for loop, one sentence, and this and it will print joy is coming will print 5 times. Now, what is the components of a for loop? First of all, you have the four statements. We have the four keywords, then followed by a variable name. A variable name is something that will be like a counter. The counter counts the number of iterations that we want our for loop to run. So in this example, num here is used as our counter. So when we run this sentence, in the first time we run it, num is actually equal to 0. The first time we run it, num is equal to 0. Now the next part of the for loop is the in keyword. That is a standard. So for the for loop syntax, we have for variable name in, then the number of times we want that block of code to run. Now, range here is a keyword in Python that tells us to do something within a given range. Now, range with 5 in range gives us just the short form of writing range. For us to use range in a broader view, range accepts three parameters. First is the number we want to start with, the starting number. Next is the end number, and the third is the number of times it will iterate, I think. Yeah. So in our example here, range being 5 means we want to run this block of code 5 times. So next we are going to put a colon. Next is a colon to tell Python that the next line following it is actually still part of the first statement. So going to our next line, we have to indent. Since we have put a colon, we have to indent because that indentation shows that the next statement is still part of the first statement, the for loop that we are trying to write. So we indent and then put out what we want to output, which is to print joy is coming. So when we run this script, we're going to see joy is coming 5 times, sorry. So that's basically how a for loop operates in Python. Then we're looking at the while loop. Now, similar to the for loop, the while loop also iterates. The while loop also repeats a block of code while a certain condition is true. While a given condition is true, the while loop repeats that block of code. Now the syntax is while, then the condition before a colon. So in our example here, we still want to print the same thing that we printed, joy is coming. We want to print it 5 times, but this time around we are going to use a while loop to print it. Now, first thing you do in a while loop is to declare a variable, something that will be like a counter that will keep counting. We do not need a counter in for loop. We do not need to declare a counter separately in for loop, but that is needed actually when you're using a while loop to increment. So the for loop increments its own automatically as long as the condition is met, and as long as the range is still, as long as the block of code has not run up to the range that is being given in that for loop, it will continuously run. But for a while loop, you will have to first of all declare and say our counter is equal to this number. Then you will manually increment it. You will type the code to increment the counter. So anytime the while loop runs, your counter is being incremented. Your counter is being increased by 1. So in our example here, first of all, we need to declare the variable 1 to num to be equal to 1. So for us to print joy is coming 5 times using a while statement, first we'll say while, which is the keyword for a while loop, while num. Now num is the variable that we have declared to be equal to 1. So when this code runs the first time, it is seeing num as 1. So while 1 is less than or equal to 5, print the following line of code: print joy is coming. Now after printing that, the next line of code, num plus equal 1, is what will now be used to increase the value of num. So after the first time the first joy is coming is printed, our num variable is increased by 1. So the second time it will run, the num will now be 2. So it checks, is 2 less than or greater than 5? If the answer is yes, if 2 is less than or equal to 5, then it prints the statement the second time. And after that, it increases again. After that, it increases the value of num. The third time it runs, num is now 3. So it checks, is 3 greater than or is 3 less than or equal to 5? If it's correct, if the answer is true, the condition is true, it will continue printing until it gets to 5. When num is 5, it checks again, is 5 less than or equal to 5? It is true. It prints the fifth time, which is joy is coming, and then it increments the num value again. It increments it by 1. So the next time it's going to check, it checks while num, which is now 6. So while 6 is less than or equal to 5. Now the question is 6 less than or equal to 5? No. So at that point, the code breaks and it stops executing. So this is just a simple way of how the while loop runs, or how it functions in Python. So I want to ask, based on just this explanations using the for loop and the while loop, can someone just tell us, if they are this similar, why then do we need to differentiate it? What is the usefulness of a for loop and the usefulness of a while loop? In what situation can we use a while loop? In what situation can the while loop be used? Or what situation do we prefer using the while loop against the for loop? I don't know. Can someone just help and answer that question? Anyone? Let's know, what's the difference between the for and the while loop. Okay, Chinwendu, please. Let's hear you, Chinwendu.
Yes, good evening, ma'am.
Oh, good evening.
All right. So I think the basic difference between the while and the for loop is that the for loop, there is a definite time or number of times the code is supposed to run or produce an output. While for the while loop, the condition is that if a certain condition, okay, the both of them have conditions set, yeah, but one is supposed to run for a particular number of time, while the other one has its the duration for which it runs is dependent on whether the result of a previous result or of a previous iteration is true or false.
Okay, thank you very much, Chinwendu. From the chat here, Kosim wrote something. He said he thinks while loop has a condition set for it, unlike the for loop. Now, both of you are actually correct. That's the basic difference between a while loop and a for loop. So, for a while loop, we already know the end point. We already know how many times we want this code to run. We already know how many times we want it to run. But for a while loop, we really do not know. We are not really sure of how many times we want this. We want the code block to run. It's going to run based on a certain condition. Now, we can even expand this example such that the while loop would not even run up to 5 times as written in the condition. We can put an additional condition such that once that second condition is met, even if we have printed joy is coming 3 times, once the second condition is met, we'll just break from the while loop. So the first condition would not necessarily complete. It must not necessarily run 5 times. So the difference between a for loop is that a for loop has a set number of times that it will run, while the while loop makes use of a condition. It runs based on a certain condition, and we can break it anytime we want to stop the loop from running. So that's the basic difference between while loop and a for loop. So it depends on what you're working, the idea or it depends on what you're working with. You know the preferred loop to use, either a for loop or a while loop. Then lastly, we're talking about functions. Functions is simply put a reusable blocks of codes that perform a specific task. Now, functions is something that we are going to be making good use of. So it's very important that you understand how to define a function and how to call a function. How to define a function and how to call a function. Now, to define a function, we simply start by using the def, the def keyword. And then, of course, we put the function name and then a colon, as usual for blocks of code in Python. So in this our example here now, we are defining a function, print text. Now, what we are simply printing is the example we used in our for loop, but this time around, we don't want to just use it like that. We want to put it in a function so that we can call this function rather than in 5 places. So rather than repeating the for loop in up to 5 places in our code, we could simply use a function definition. So whenever we want to print this joy is coming, what you simply do is you call on the function that you have defined, holding the block of code, which is joy is coming, holding this for loop block of code. You simply call on the function and then you get to print, you get your output. So to define a function, you start by using the def keyword, the variable function name, and then a colon. So in our example here, the first part is we're defining a print text function. So after using the def keyword, print text is print underscore text is function name, is the name of our function, then open and close brackets. Next is our colon, and in the next line, of course, not forgetting our indentation, since everything is going to run inside the function that we are going to define. So the next is the for loop, the for statement, and after that, of course, we use our indentation also for the for statement, because the print is actually under the for statement and not directly under and it will not run directly under our defined function. So since the print is going to run under our for statement, we need another indentation, and that's why after the first part, which is defining the print text, the first line which we use to define the print text function, we have an indentation following before the for statement. Then in the third line, we still have an additional indentation for before typing the print statement. So when you run all of this, your function will run. However, to view the output, we need to call the function. And to call a function is simply to type the function name and open and close braces. Now, this is a simplified version of defining functions. Going deeper, we'll understand the capabilities of functions. We'll see how functions will actually accept inputs and return the same inputs and return inputs. But this is a simplified version. It doesn't accept any inputs, and it doesn't the only input it's returning is the print statement. So to call on this function, we simply use the function name, which is print underscore text, and then open and close braces. So this is how we define, this is basically how functions is being defined in Python. Then putting everything that we've talked about concerning Python today, now putting all of them together, that's the variable declaration, the printing to impute values, then loops and functions. Putting all of them together, we'll look at this simple Python script. And here we're just told that we should write a Python function that allows a user to input their password 3 times. Now, what this function actually does is it will tell you to input. Next, please. Now, what this does is it requests a user to input your password, and if it is not correct, it will give you just have to try 3 times, and after that, that's the end. But if you're correct the first time, it just tells you your password is correct, and that is it. So how does this work? First of all, we're putting it in a function, and our function is the password. We said the function name is the password function. So first of all, we're going to use a range. Since we want to run, we want this we want to give the user just 3 attempts, we're going to give our range to be equal to 3. So our for loop will that will make our for loop run only 3 times. Now, the first time it runs, it prompts the user to enter the password. Let me see. Okay. Oh, I just saw an error here now. So that assignment operator should actually be password and not pass. The assignment operator under the first statement should be password and not pass, because password is what is used in the if statement. So please take note of that error. I just noticed it now. So what it does is, when the loop runs the first time, it prompts the user to enter a password. Now, if the password is wrong, now let's go to when it's correct first of all. Now, if the password is correct, our password here is AICA. Now, if the password is correct, it simply prints your password is correct and it stops execution. The break keyword there is to move away, to stop executing the for loop. So if at the first trial the user imputes the correct password, this statement would not run for 3 times any longer. Now, coming to the second part, where the user imputes a wrong password. So, and that is the else part of it. Now, if the password is wrong, we now place a counter. A counter is simply to tell the user how many attempts he or she has left. So when it is run the first time, we'll place our counter to be counter 2 minus 1. Now, that is so because the first time a for loop runs, num, which is the variable name given to our counter in the for loop, is actually 0. The range starts from 0. So in the first instance, if the password is wrong, our counter reads 2 minus 0, and then it will print wrong password. You have 2 attempts left, and then it goes again. For the second trial, if the password is wrong, now our counter will be 2 minus 1, and then it tells the user, wrong password, you have 1 attempt left, and so it goes for 3 times. So if the person imputes the password, a wrong password, 3 times, you get that error message, wrong password, and the number of you get the message, wrong password, and the number of attempts you have left. If you impute the wrong password for 3 times, after that the function ends, because we said it should run for just 3 times. However, if after the first or the second trial you happen to impute the correct password, the for loop will simply stop executing as a result of the break keyword that we have written inside the for loop. Then to call our function is simply to write the function name in brackets and run it. So when you run this Python script, you are going to, first of all, you get an input requesting for your password, which runs the number of times, which is 3 times if you input a wrong password, and it runs either once or twice if you input the correct password. So this is basically what we are all I think that's all the things we mentioned today, all of them, putting them all together to write this Python function. So in your own free time, we mentioned while loop. You can also rewrite this. You can rewrite this now instead of using the for loop. You can rewrite it using the while loop and see how it would actually run, and see the places where you get to change your coding logic and the rest of them. So this is something that we can actually go and try on our own. Just write it using the while loop. Try it on your own and see how the logic works and the difference between using a for loop and a while loop in running and in running in iterations for Python. So that's the end of what we have for today. So if anyone has any question, you can ask now. Okay, Quadri.
Yes, good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the presentation. Very straightforward, right? Thank you so much. Yeah, I want to ask question based on the first slide, right? The process of from data injection to transformation to extraction to automating the process, stuff like that. So let me use an example. Let's say I have data and through API, then automating the process. Let's say I have data in hotspots and the database has not even been created. And I want to import through API, right? And after using my token, Bearer token and everything, that part of automation, that's when you want to upload it to a database. So the question I want to ask is that that automating part, so when is extracting the data, because we've already written the Python, right? It's just going to make the process, probably maybe Apache Airflow, stuff like that. So what I want to understand is that, is it going to append the new data? Let's say we have 100 before, but there are new records, new data, new entries now in the CRM. So that automation part, is it going to append the data in the database? And creating the table, let's say we want to have different table the way we have it on hotspots, right? Are we going to create different table in the database, then write different Python script that will extract data through API or to transform it, then upload it to that different table? Let's say I have tickets, I have contacts, I have deal, I have companies, then like that, is it going to be appending it when the automation is executing?
Okay, so to understand your question clearly, you're asking, say you get a data from an API, and then you separated the data into different tables. Now you're asking if, when you automate the process of extraction, will the tables which you separated also be automatically updated? Is that the question?
The question is,
am I right?
Okay, let me put it this way. Let's say I have 4 tables in hotspots now. I have contact, I have Gs, I have ticket, I have companies. So if I want to extract the information, the data from the 4 tables, am I going to am I going to write separate Python script, because I'm using API now? Am I going to write separate Python script for each? Or I can extract information, the data from the 4 tables together. Then when I want to upload it to database, write the automation, the Python script to automate it to tables I've created in data. Let's say I create table in database now, contacts, the tickets, and companies as well. So do I need to write separate Python script? That's question number one for each task. Secondly, when updating the table for automation part, is it going to append the new record when the job is executed in batch every day? Let's say I want you to update the table by, let's say, 12 midnight every day.
Okay, now I get you clear. Sorry, hold on, please. Abdul, could you please mute your mic? Thank you. Okay, so your question now is, you have an API, you're extracting data using API, and the website you're using has 4 tables. So firstly, are you going to write different scripts to extract information from these 4 tables? And when updating or uploading or loading to your database, would it be automated? If that's your question, the answer is actually yes. Now, how does this work? First of all, in the API part, it depends on how the tables are actually being stored, or how it's been written in the website. You can actually write a function, an extract function, to extract information from all tables at the same time. But for you to be able to control your program well, to control your codes, it's always better to break it down, so that when anyone fails at any point, you know the table you're going to. If like you mentioned, you have contacts and I can't remember the second table. So rather than putting them all together, it's easier and it's better that you break it down. So if the table for contacts come in, if the data, the records for contacts, if they come in, they could come in well. Now the second table you're bringing in might actually fail due to probably mismatch or something else. So it might fail. Now, when it fails, you do not have to start extracting information from contacts all over again. So you just concentrate on working and extracting information from the table that failed. So when you're writing your function, it's better you break it down. Then after getting 4 of them, these 4 tables, you can now merge 4 of them in Python. You can merge them based on that, depending on, of course, and that's where understanding of keys in SQL will come to play. When you know the characteristics of these 4 tables, if it is important that you merge them, then you can merge them based on the columns that are similar between these tables. So while extraction can be done separately, if it's important that they are together, you can extract them separately, then merge it during your transformation in Python. Now, after that, you save to your database, and that process can also be automated. Now, the automation there is that you will put a trigger, and that will constantly check at, or say you mentioned 12 midnight. At 12 midnight, it will run. Once it runs by 12 midnight, it checks if there is a new data. Now it depends on the constraints that you're going to put there. It checks if there is a new data, and you can check for new data using timestamp. Timestamp is a combination of date and time. So when you write when you automate the process like that, you can make use of timestamp to check if the last time the data that came in last is the time of that data is the same with the time of the data that is still serves as the latest data in the website. if it is the same, then no need to no need to do the extraction all over again. But if it isn't the same thing, that means there is new data. If it isn't the same thing, it shows that new data has been added into the website. Then it triggers the extraction function which you have already written. It extracts the data based using the APIs that you have done, then does the transformation and loads into your database or data warehouse. It loads into your database. So the process can actually be automated, and rather than doing doing an extraction of all tables at the same time, it's best you separate it so that whenever it breaks down, you can easily know where to go and do your debugging from. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. So do we? Okay. Shakir says I was breaking up. I hope you can hear me clearly now. Shakira. So someone asked the specific career track should be, yes. The career track, the next one we are working in is data engineer in Python. That's our next career track, and it will serve as part of our assignments for this week, so that I'll be able to keep track of those who have actually enrolled. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, when we started the SQL track, if you don't enroll, you don't get a statement of accomplishment at the end of it. But if you do enroll, at the end you will get a statement of accomplishment. And also you can enroll in only one track at a time. So if you're still working on if you're yet to complete the first track, which is the SQL track, there is no need enrolling in the Python track, because it will, if you enroll in the Python track, it will remove you from the SQL track which you currently are on. So if you're yet to complete that, hold on. When you're done with that, then you can enroll officially in the Python track. But you can still learn, follow the courses, learn the courses. But as long as you haven't completed the SQL track, there is no need enrolling in the Python track, because it will simply remove you from the first track you're already enrolled on and enroll you in another track. So that's that. Does anyone have any other question? Okay, Kadri, let's hear you again.
Sorry, I think my question is like taking us so forward, like we are, but I just like that first slide, the process of the data engineering, right? So, and it's actually it affects what I'm currently doing. That's why I'm very curious about that part. So I'm very sorry. Apologies the house if my question is a way ahead. So another thing I want to ask is that, let's say I write Python script now, and I'm using PostgreSQL database. So if I want to load after the extraction has been done to the database, so is that where I need to use Apache Airflow, and is it free or I need to pay? And how can I launch that project to be in the cloud so that the automation part will take place?
Okay, so first of all, do you know how to at least move from Python to a database? Kadri, I just asked the question.
Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, I can.
Yes, at least I can write Python to extract data using API. but
No, I'm
I've
not
not
talking of the
tried.
extraction. Okay.
No, I've not loaded data into DB. I can only upload like normal upload of Excel CSV to database, but I've not tried to load it automatically, extraction straight to database.
Okay. So I'm not really okay. I'm not asking on flat files like CSV, like .sql files. Can you Can you extract directly from a database using just the .sql that will import all the tables in a given database? Can you do that in Python?
No, I've not tried that. I can only extract from, let's say, through API, not from database. The only thing I usually do, because I'm an analyst, right? I'm an analyst. So a database has been configured, then I will just connect straight to the database with credentials, then do my data, whatever I want to build, Power BI developments, deploy it to the cloud, then connect using on-premise data gateway to connect to database, right? But when I work in on another job, there's no data engineer, so and I need to deliver on time. So what I did is that I had to use third-party integrator to import data from different data sources, like from HubSpot, from QuickBooks, from different sources into Google Workspace. From there, I connect Power BI to start the development, then back to the cloud, connect it back, all automated. So, but the connector I'm using has schedule refreshed, that it can import the data by itself at a specific time I set. So I'm not looking at
Okay.
sustainability. Sustainability now, I want to have a database, like a PostgreSQL database, to extract the data using Python, then load it to database, create different tables the way it is on Hotspot and from different QuickBooks like finance and all those things, so that I will be able to load data into DB, so that as the data are getting bigger, it will be very easy. So that's why I'm asking that question.
Oh, okay. So I just wanted to know if you have tried working solely on with .sql files on Python, but that's fine. Yes, the process can actually be automated. And sorry, what exactly were you automating?
Let's say if I want to, for example, now instead of using let's say for example, I've written Python script to extract data from Hotspot. Let me use Hotspot as case study. Let's now, but I want to look at, let's say I now have Postgres database I want to, which is an open source, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I want the loading to be automated, right? Then if that loading is automated, then that PostgreSQL need to be hosted in the cloud for automation of data import to take place. That's what I'm saying. Do I need to host the PostgreSQL, database in the cloud before Python script I write to extract data can be executed automatically?
Actually, no. You really do not need to host that in the cloud. Working even on your own system, you can write a Python script, extract it, and load it into any database that is actually on your local system. I don't know if I understand your question clearly, but
Yes.
you don't really need to put it in the cloud. You can write a Python script that will download all of that, then load it into your local database. If the loading is what you really want, you can easily load it on a database in your local system. Then from your local system, you can access it.
Okay. Yes, I understand. But what about that automation? Like I want the imports to be automated, right? like to execute at
Okay.
12 midnight by itself. With even my
Yes,
system
that
is
is.
down. If I shut down my system, it will run by itself.
Oh, okay. That's actually where you really need the cloud. That that automation is where you need something that is constantly running, at least internet that is constantly running, and that's where you need the cloud. But you don't need to host the database. You can put that after it comes in. You can put it in your own local system. But the automation is where you actually need a cloud storage. Okay, now I understand your question. The automation is where you need a cloud storage because you're getting it directly from the internet and you need it to be updated on at a certain time daily. So yes, you would need a cloud storage, but I don't know if Postgre has the capability of hosting on cloud. I am not sure. The cloud
Okay.
databases that I am setting up are that of Amazon, Azure, and GCP. So I'm not sure if Postgre has the
Okay.
capability of hosting on cloud.
Okay. Okay. I think that Azure Postgre. I think there's something called when I read about it. I think there's also called
Yes,
Azure Postgre. That means you can host that Postgre on that Azure
on
cloud.
Azure platform.
Then
Okay.
yes, I think it maybe that, but that process is what I want to. I know probably
If
as
if
we are
if
moving on
if,
along.
if Postgre can be hosted on the cloud, then yes, it is very, very possible to automate the tasks and store it in the Postgre database. It is very possible.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, the first thing I will try the local one. So when the local one is sorted, I can be moving into the cloud.
Uh, based on actually what you mentioned, based on your explanation, the local one would not really give you the kind of automation you need, except
Yes,
when it comes in, it has to wait until you power your local system, until you power your
local
system.
system. Yes,
Exactly. Do you understand?
even on premise data gateway, I have to install it on my laptop for premise data gateway to work if I want to do that. But if I want to use the cloud, there will be a cloud virtual machine and everything that will be run. But I've
Yes,
not
that
tried,
one is
of course.
okay. The cloud one is run 24 hours, but of course, you know the
Yes,
limitations of using your local system to work with it.
local
It's
system.
only when that one comes on, that's when you get what you want.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, Tony just asked if you can enroll in associate data engineering course with Python without writing certification exams yet in SQL. Well, you can, but I would advise that you have, first of all, make sure you register. Make sure you register for the certification exam. When you register, you have 30 days. So you will know that your time is ticking to get the certification. Because if you do not register and you jump straight into Python, there is a possibility that you might end up not even attempting the certification exam. So personally, I would advise before you start enrolling in Python track, make sure you register for the data engineering certificate. So before, at least within 30 days, you will at least once you will attempt the certification exam, and within 30 days you get your certificate. But if you leave it as it is, you don't register, you might end up just moving along with Python and forget about the certification for SQL. So personally, I would advise you register first of all before you continue with the Python class. I think that's all the questions here. Someone raised his hand. Okay, Steve, let's hear you, please.
Okay, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Your voice is faint.
Oh, okay. But is it better?
Okay, yes, can hear you clearly now.
Okay, I just wanted to give like a is this suggestion now or a comment to the person that asked about automation using Postgres. I think I tried using something for automation before, but I think I would suggest he check out Neon. Neon. I think Neon platform offers an orchestration and automation for Postgres using database. So that was just what I wanted to suggest.
All right, thank you for that suggestion, Quadri. I hope you got that, and you can try out the platform if that's fine. So thank you very much, Steve. So next week today, at the end of this class, we already have next week's assignments. So the first one is to enroll in the data engineering track if you have completed the SQL track. And then the first two courses is what we're going to look at. The first two courses is what we're going to look at, which is understanding cloud computing and introduction to Python for developers. So these are the first two that we're going to look at this week, which will form part of your assignments. Then also concerning the XPs, based on feedback we got last week, I had to drop it to 3,000. So I believe 3,000 is something that we can get. Based on the complaints that 5,000 was too much, so I've dropped it to 3,000, and I believe we can all get 3,000 within 1 week. So if you complete these two courses safe, you're definitely sure of getting your 3,000 XPs. So that's the assignments that we'll be having for this week. Prof, you raised your hand. Please, what's your question? Can you all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
He sent a message, so you can check it.
I've responded to that message, which is either to enroll in data engineering course with Python without writing the certification exam. I believe I've answered that, Prof. If that's your question, like I said, it's before you enroll, make sure you register for the certificates. As long as you've completed the track and you've done the skill assessments, you're very sure you've done the skill assessments. Register for the certificate. It's not something you register today and take today. Once you register, you have 30 days. So within that 30 days, you can prepare yourself adequately to sit down once, and I think it takes within 1 to 2 hours for the objective and about 4 hours for the practical part of it. You can actually do it in less time. So before you go ahead and enroll in the Python track, register for the certificate. Registering does not mean you're taking it. So once you register, you have a 30 days time frame to complete it. But that registration would make you, at least within that 30 days, it's to ensure that within that 30 days you attempt the certification exam. I hope that's fine. That's clear enough, Prof. So with that being said, Abdul, first of all, congratulations. Abdul completed and got his certification today. Abdul-Samad, thank you for your assistance. Thank you for sharing your screen. And he completed and got his certification today. So congratulations for that, Abdul. So I don't know if you can just tell us how the experience was like. Because I'm looking at it that some people are getting cold feet simply because they had something like examination. So, Abdul, if you can tell us your experience, did you find it difficult? How, like, how difficult on a level of 1 to 5? How difficult did you find both the objective and the theory part? Then also, what exactly were the areas that was asked during your own exam? Let's hear from you, please, Abdul.
Thank you so much. So, at first, when I was doing the exam, I was also tense, but not for the theory, because that's two sections, theory and practical session. So the theory part contains data warehouse, data quality, and data principles. So it was not much of a complex part. So while in the practical parts, I was also tense. I thought I had two trials, and if I run the first trial, I won't have opportunity to run again because it's just like I failed the exam. So it was not that hard because it's just based on case statements, the SQL case statements, and somehow analyzing. It was the question. The database was based on a loan company. So it's just like analyzing the loan and the payments data and cleaning the data set because the data set had empty columns and some columns are not how it's supposed to be. That's basically what was in the exam.
Okay. Thank you very much, Abdul, and congratulations once again. Now, from for a fact, I can tell you that I think when I attempted, I failed the the objective. The first time I did, I failed it because there are so many things there that I wasn't that conversant with. So I had to go back and go through those resources again. And then I attempted the second time and I actually passed. So for those that are still getting cold feet, unsure of whether they are ready or not for the examination, because you heard the word examination, it's not that difficult as long as you've completed the track. And for the practical part of it, that's the aim of including projects in our study here. At least if you have done the 3 projects that you were assigned during the SQL track, if you've completed the 3 projects, the practical part is similar to what you get. It's just to know how you understand some keywords and their applications. So if you are yet to if you are yet to register, please go ahead and register. And if you try one, you can try again. You can at least 2 trials within 30 days, and after that, if you don't get it, you can still register again and try once again until you get it. So for those that are yet to do that, please ensure you do that today, as long as you have completed the track. Ensure you register today and also enroll in the Python track. So congrats once again, Abdul. And for those that didn't tell us that have completed theirs, congratulations to you also. So with that, we'll have to call it a day, unless someone has any other question or a comment. If not, I think we've spent enough time today, and let's call it a day. All right. Thank you, Steve. And since I'm not getting any other comments, that should be good night till we meet next week. And thank you for coming.